All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Papillion Lavista Community Schools Board of Education meeting for October 10th, 2022. We'll start with our Section 1 call to order. Item A, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you all. Moving on to item B under Section 1 call to order. Roll call, please.
Present.
Ms. Fisher?
Here.
Mr. Lotus?
Here.
Mr. Bailey?
Here.
Ms. Webb?
Present. Yes, you are.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion to excuse the absence of Mr. Mather.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Fisher and a second by Mr. Bailey. Roll call, please.
Ms. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Lotus?
Yes.
Mr. Bailey?
Yes.
Ms. Webb?
Yes.
Dr. Boyer?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. As customary in all of our meetings, I'd like to give guidance that our Open Meetings Act is posted at the entrance to the boardroom. All right, that concludes Section 1 call to order. Moving on to Section 2 communications. Item A is our Student Council report from Papillion Lavista South High School. Welcome up, Hallie Settles.
Welcome, Hallie.
I doubt you have a long report for us. There has been nothing going on at Papio South.
We are very busy, lots of activities. I'm Hallie Settles, I'm the president. Zach Nelson is not here today. He is our vice president. He is gone for the night, but thank you for having me here tonight. We wanted to share that our school year is off to a great start. We're very proud of the accomplishments our students and staff have made. We continue to strive for excellence, and we want to thank the board and our district leaders for their outstanding leadership. Papio South has been very busy, as you guys all know. We would like to start with athletics first. We just had a huge weekend for volleyball. Papio South hosted the Geico Girls Volleyball Invitational. The girls won their first game versus Skyview, Idaho in 4 sets. And then the girls went on to play in the championship versus Cathedral Catholic in the championship game. They lost against the #1 team in the country, but it was a really good opportunity for them to play and get this good representation. They were all on ESPN, which was super cool. It was a national televised event. The girls are currently 23-5 and are ranked #2 in the state. For football, the boys have been working very hard and recently lost a close game versus #1 Gretna. They are currently #8 for Class A in the power rankings with an overall record of 5-2, and they play Bell East this Thursday at 7. Softball. These girls have had a very successful season so far. The girls competed in districts on Wednesday and Thursday. On Wednesday, they went 1-1, winning against Bell East and winning against Bell East, and then Millard North they lost to. On Thursday, the girls had to win their way back to advance to state, and they won 3 games in a row, which was super big for them. They upset Millard North and are the A4 district champs. They will play this Wednesday in the state tournament in Hastings. Up next is boys tennis. The boys competed in the Metro Tennis this past week. Our #2 doubles, Riley Schrader and Trenton and Dringa, knocked off #1 Millard North, and they advanced to the finals against Prep. They lost a close one, but had a great second-place finish, and they have state coming up. For girls golf, they actually compete today in state. The girls were A3 district runner-ups. Several girls medaled, which was super impressive for all of them. They punched their ticket to state tournament, as we all know, and they were today, and it's also tomorrow. Best of luck to them. I have a couple friends that are on the team, so I'm really excited for them. Girls cross country, the girls just competed at Metros, which was at Papio South. The girls raced on Thursday and took 3rd place as a team. Several ladies placed in the top 40, and Caitlin Schwartz took all conference honors in 4. Oh, sorry. It's a long report. I'm getting there. Took 4th in all places. The JV team won the Metro Tourney. The boys also competed in Metros at Papio South and took home second place as a team. A big congrats to Coach Singer, who was Metro Coach of the Year. This was super big for him, and it was really good because the team got second as well. So districts are coming up for both teams on Thursday, and they hope to punch their ticket to state. The boys JV team won the Metro Championship as well. Next up is Unified Flag Football. The team competed in their first game of the season this past week in Platteview. They also played, I think, yesterday, and they also won again. So they have 2 wins right now. Jaden Dez had 4 touchdowns to lead the team to that win. Up next, we have Fine Arts Band. Our band has had a very, very successful season so far. They competed this last week at Oakhorn, taking home grand champs. I hope you have gotten a chance to catch their show during one of the halftime performances because it's really good. They compete this weekend in St. Louis, and they will be back home for a chance to repeat as state champs. Theater. Our theater department has had 2 successful shows now and has been working very hard for their upcoming musical, Catch Me If You Can. It is a great cast and is a really great show. Their show this year will be on November 3rd, 4th, and 6th, and tickets are on sale now. Hope Squad. Our Hope Squad is at PLS, and it is in its second year. The Hope Squad recognized Suicide Prevention Month and continues to help build a positive school culture. The group is set to attend the Kim Foundation Youth Empowerment Summit at the end of the month. Student Council. Our September 2nd, Student Council, on September 2nd, Student Council put on Senior Sunrise, an event to celebrate all of our seniors. It was a fun time full of food trucks, music, and celebrating with friends. It was really great to see from like an outside perspective because I was a senior, so they wouldn't really let me work on a lot of stuff, but it was great to have that inside perspective of getting to just enjoy it with my friends and seeing all the hard work from the outside perspective that Student Council does. We had a super successful homecoming week, which was on September 17th. Our Spirit Week was a successful week full of lots of participation from all grade levels. Our theme this year was a music festival homecoming, and we sold about 1,600 tickets for the dance, which was super big. I'm very proud of our council and all the hard work that they put in to make this event super successful. There was tons of people. It was hot in the gym, but I think a lot of people had a good time. We had State Student Council, or we have State Student Council on October 21st at Kennesaw High School. We are going to have a handful of members down there with us, and we're going to connect with lots of different councils across Nebraska and grow our leadership there. It should be a great time. That is all I have for you today, which was a lot, but thank you for listening and having me here tonight. Are there any questions?
I don't have a question, but I enjoyed the volleyball team the other night. I really impressed you. I was very proud of the fact that for the team that they played as strong as they did. I understand. I know the one that won the tournament was number 1, played 30 games, and has never lost a set this year. They had 10 seniors, though, and every one of those players they'd make me look short. And I'm 6'2". And so I would be looking up at most of them. But, compared to the Titans, they have five seniors. So it wasn't an equal field, but they played them hard, and they almost took them out on the first set.
Yes, it was.
I really thought they were going to, but the ball bounced the wrong direction, and so they lost. But they put up a good fight for the other 2. The third one, I really thought they were going to take it to them again, but they fell short again.
It was
but
really
I was very
close,
proud of
yeah.
the team. They fought hard, and they were so professional in what they did. It was great.
It was really cool to see Lauren Medic. She tweeted to some of the players about how it was really cool to have the opportunity to play against them and stuff like that. So I think they were just really grateful to be getting the opportunity to do something super cool like this.
Yeah, I'm glad that we were able to host it. That was a big opportunity for Papillion, Lavista. It really was.
Yes. Any other questions?
No, just a big shout out to you and the student council and the students at Papio South. The student turnout for those matches was incredible. The student section was filled to the brim, creating that environment for those other teams that have traveled, from halfway across the country to then compete in a fun environment. So to the Black Hole and all the supporters of that group organizing it, and the students taking time out of their, Friday afternoons and Saturday to go support a phenomenal team. It made it fun for us, older folks that were sitting on the other side, to make it even a more memorable event than just the national invitational that it was. So well done, Papio South students.
Okay, thank you guys very much.
Thank you, Hallie. Have a great evening. All right, moving on to item B under Section 2 Communications, our recognition for this evening. We have one. I don't believe he is in attendance this evening. I'll turn it over to Dr. Rickley here in just a second, but we have a National Merit semifinalist from Papillion Lavista South High School, Nathaniel Burr.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lotus, members of the board. So this is our first recognition of the 2022-23 school year. For those of you that have been participating and attending our board meetings in the past, you know that at least once a month we try to single out either a staff person or one of our students who has really distinguished himself in some type of outstanding way. Even though Nate couldn't be here this evening, we wanted to provide some public recognition for his work. He is a senior at Papillion Vista South High School. He has been named a National Merit semifinalist for the current school year. If you're not familiar with the program, our students take the PSAT, which is basically a pre-test to the SAT college entrance exam. Less than 10% of the students nationally that take this exam are named a National Merit semifinalists. It's incredibly prestigious. It's an incredibly strong predictor of future success in terms of the types of colleges that these young women and men will go on to attend, and we couldn't be prouder of Nate. So Nate, I hope you're able to watch this. If not, we'll make sure and reach out to you in other ways. We do have a plaque, the Be Known for Greatness plaque, that we will make sure that Mr. Burr gets, but please know on behalf of the administration at South and your Board of Education, we are extremely proud of you. Could we have a round of applause for Mr. Burr, please? And with that, Mr. Lotus, I would conclude our recognitions for the evening.
Thank you, Dr. Rickley. That concludes item B under Section 2 Communications. Moving on to item C, public comment for items not on tonight's agenda. Looking to my right, I do not see any this evening, so we will move on from item C on to item D, the superintendent's report. Back to you, Dr. Rickley.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lotus. And as always, for our community members who are here, thank you for being here, staff members and community members. It's great to have you engaged with our Board of Education. For those watching at home via YouTube, we are thrilled to have you engaged with your Board of Education. We are fast approaching the end of first quarter. Our students are currently on fall break. They were off on Friday. Staff were off on Friday. Staff came back today for professional development. Students were still off. Everybody comes back tomorrow. I say this every single year, but it's impossible how fast first quarter in particular goes. So that's kind of a fun thing, but it's also scary how fast the school year progresses. Wanted to thank several board members in our community and our HR office for putting on the annual para-conference. So for those of you that may not be aware, we do a para-conference twice a year, once first semester, once second semester. It goes for a half day. Today it was at Papillion Vista South from approximately 8:30 to 11:30. Want to thank Ms. Sue-Ann Witt and Dr. Tafoya in particular for attending. I know that's difficult to carve out that time, but it sure meant a lot to have you there. The whole purpose of the conference really is, it's one part networking for our paraeducators, but more importantly, it's to provide training and professional development in areas of need, such as mental health awareness, discipline, curricular support, giving our paras the tools that they need to be successful in our classrooms. We know that maybe more so than any other employee group right now, we are in need of paras. Ms. Witt has said it virtually every single board meeting. We are open for business. We have over 300 para positions which are filled, but we have at any given time 30 to 40 positions that are unfilled. They are absolutely critical to our model. not only in the area of special education, but also in instructional delivery. So our paras, we just cannot do our job without our paras. So today was a great celebration of that. And again, I bet Ms. Witt says it, but we are open for business if you are even remotely interested in a position. Don't want to steal Ms. Iman's thunder. She'll be talking more about our facility listening sessions, but today was an incredibly busy day for Ms. Siri, Mr. Richards, Ms. Iman, and myself. We fanned out across the district. Brett and I visited 10 buildings and did the presentation. Shireen did a number of buildings, and Ms. Iman did a number of buildings. We're not done yet with the listening sessions, but we were able to collect a whole bunch of information that we'll be sharing with the community and the board in terms of what our staff says about the strengths and weaknesses of the proposal. Our community will also have opportunities at the building level and in 2 community forums, which I believe, at least one of which is already listed on the future board calendar, October 20th at South, and then we'll do a follow-up October 27th at Monarch. More details to come on that. Had to provide a shout out on the National Volleyball Tournament. I know that we discussed it already, but what goes on behind the scenes to plan an event like that is nothing. It is amazing, Mr. Bailey. So Mr. Spilker, principal at South, Mr. Van Akron, the activities director, Becky Medic, who's the activities director, secretary. But most of all, I want to congratulate the young ladies who had such a terrific showing, and Coach Tarman. Coach Katie Tarman is nothing short of outstanding. She was a college volleyball player herself. She's guided us to a couple of state titles. Last year, we barely dropped a set. And when you look at the girls' athletic program, you look at Monarch to have the #1 nationally ranked softball program in the last couple of years, and for a for a volleyball program to be in the top 3 nationally. Our women's athletic programs are nothing short of remarkable, especially given our size. We are not among the largest of the Class A's. We're smack dab in the middle. I think we're around 15 and 17, the 2 high schools respectively. So to have that kind of quality, not just on a statewide basis, but on a national basis, is pretty darn remarkable. So congratulations, Coach Tarman and your ladies. Also wanted to share with the community and the board, we've held our first advisory meetings of the year. We meet with our student advisory. I think we've met with them twice. In addition, we also have a teacher advisory. We have at least 1 representative from each one of our 21 buildings. We met with them last week. In fact, we have one of our teacher reps in attendance this evening. Thank you for being here, Melissa. We also have a classified advisory where, again, we have at least 1 rep from every one of our buildings. That would include clerical staff, paraeducators, food service workers, drivers, van riders, et cetera. They're just great opportunities for us to talk and hear from our employees what's working in the district and what's not working in the district, and great conversations. Lastly, personal highlight for me last week was attending the Buffett Scholarship Luncheon at Papillion Lavista High School. Now, if you're not familiar with the Buffett Scholarship, it is awarded by the Susie Buffett Foundation. We had about 45 kids join us for lunch. The hope is that all 45 apply for a scholarship. The Buffett Scholarship is based on academic progress, but also financial need. And the vast majority of those kids that were in attendance talking about what it takes to be a Buffett Scholarship winner were first generation. This program really does change lives. We all know the power of a college degree to change the trajectory, not only for that student, but that student's family, and down the road, those students' children and grandchildren. And we talked a little bit about how, as a first-generation college student myself, I've seen firsthand the power of a college degree to change lives. So to be able to speak to some of those students about my own experiences was a pretty darn big honor. And with that, Mr. Lotus, I would conclude my superintendent's comments for the evening.
Thank you, Dr. Rickley. That concludes item D under Section 2 Communications. Moving on to item E, board comments.
I do.
Was at a Liaison luncheon at the Ideal School. Very impressed with the staff. They are so professional and so caring. And they show a lot of empathy for the students because they are challenged. And they are, it was a joy. For lunch, I was hoping we'd have creme brulee. Chateaubriand and creme brulee, but I had a nice salad, and that did a job for me.
Chick-fil-A salad.
Yeah, it was very nice. So the heck with the other. That would have just made me sleepy. But it was a very, very exciting meeting, and I was so impressed with how much they care for the students, and they're just a terrific staff. And heads up to the principal. He is top notch also.
My turn? Okay. I attended many things since the last school board meeting. First one was the homecoming game with the Monarchs, and I think I saw at least one Heisman Trophy winner on the Monarch team, don't you think? I mean, really, that was a great game. I, too, attended a liaison lunch. I was at Lavista West Elementary, and always a good conversation, but it always feels like it's too short because the teachers are busy. They eat, and then they have to leave, and so we could have spent some more time talking. I think it would have been good, but we'll find time for that. I did attend the para conference today. There were a lot of para power going on there. I want to just thank all the paras for the time that they give to the students and the kids, and to help the teachers to get their work done and to help our kids with their education. And I do want to make the plea that if anybody wants to join that wonderful group of co-educators, to please call the HR department and put your name in, because it is a very rewarding position. And then Deb Anderson, I did stayed long enough to hear her presentation on trauma and the brain and the effects of mental health, and it was very real to me because many of the things she talked about I experienced with foster children and the trauma that they deal with, and how important it is to understand that, so that when you're working with a child who has trauma, you can understand why they react the way they do and how they think the way they think. And you're going to make better decisions and help that child to be more successful if you understand those things. So she was a really good speaker today. Thank you.
I also got to attend a liaison lunch at Anderson Grove. Yeah, truly amazing staff. I agree. It's very tough you see them for a short period of time and then they've got to head off, but it was very, very good to talk to them. We got pizza, so you got the healthy, I got the really good pizza. So yeah, it was phenomenal. Yeah, it was really good. But it was really good. The other thing I wanted to shout out, it goes to the whole district, I think, but I know the folks at Papillion South helping out West Side the other night when they had issues with their electrical, lights, I'm assuming, at West Side Field, and they moved their whole game down to Foundation Field. So a huge thank you to everybody that helped out with that. It was fantastic to be able to do that. So appreciate that. I know Hallie's already left, but I have to shout out to all the teams. Good luck to all these state. My son is an assistant coach with the Papillion South boys cross country, and so he's pretty excited to head to state here. And so I just had to give a shout out to all of them. And so, yeah. Now, I want to make sure. I know the softball team's amazing for the Monarchs. 30th straight state tourney. Did I also see that one of the tennis teams is heading to their 20th straight state tournament? Is that right?
That sounds right. We can check on that, Mr. Bailey. Yeah, I bet that's probably accurate.
So just amazing, all our athletics, and listening to everything that Hallie had to say about the band and how well the bands are doing and the fine arts and everything. So it's just amazing what these students are doing here at this level. So thanks.
I'm trying to remember what state I'm in or what time zone I'm in after a couple weeks of travel. I rarely travel for my real job, and unfortunately I had back-to-back conferences. So, Mr. Bailey, thank you for stepping in and running the meeting on September 26th. So I could attend my work conference, one of them in Indianapolis, and I turned around about 30 hours later and went to Henderson, just outside of Las Vegas, for another. I know, poor me. But when you sit in a conference room for 9 hours a day, it's not as thrilling as it really seems. But because I missed last meeting, I did have a liaison lunch at G. Stanley Hall between our prior meeting and last meeting. Like y'all said, it's such a great conversation, and it was a privilege for me as an alumni of G. Stanley Hall, as a Hawk. I hadn't been because of the pandemic. I hadn't been in the building since the 2018 bond renovations were done. And wow, absolutely blown away. The new secure entryway, the decisions that the principal and their staff made for just messaging and the things that they invested in throughout the building, I hadn't seen in other buildings. We've renovated, but just the attention to detail that they wanted to do for their students, and then really hearing how they are collaborating, especially at the kindergarten, first, second grade level, with the, the drop-offs because of the pandemic, in terms of reading and math, and just how they really work together to determine, okay, how do we make some recovery in some of those learning gaps and get everybody up to speed, and not just, hey, in my class I'm doing it this way, and in this class we're doing it different. They really said, hey, let's all get together. We're all going to go down one path, and they've really noticed a big difference only a few weeks into this semester. So, big shout out to G. Stanley Hall. The building's phenomenal, but your staff are even more phenomenal in what you're doing every day with those kids. Like many others, attended numerous matches and events around the district. I'm a cross-country junkie, like Mr. Bailey. So one thing exciting is that last Saturday at Papillion South at Walnut Creek, our district hosted the state middle school cross-country race. It just started a few years ago. Huge thanks to Coach Stanger, Coach Hazelhorst, and all their staff and all the varsity, junior varsity students at the high school level for volunteering and making that event. There were over 1,200 registered students from schools across this entire state. It was an incredible scene. The weather turned out to be really, really perfect for running conditions. And in the championship race, so you have to be top 7 between 7th and 8th grade at your school or less, depending on obviously enrollment, to qualify for the championship race. So they do a men's championship and a women's championship, and then they do an open for both men's and women. A young man from Lexington set a course record on Saturday. It was unbelievable how fast that young man ran. But big credit again to the staff for making that event happen. I know the students from all over the state. When I ran in middle school, I was the middle school team. There was one of us at a couple of the middle schools. And to now see 1,200 students from across the state getting that experience, getting to determine whether they, it's their sport or not before they get to that, the really competitive high school level. So, phenomenal event. Volleyball, as we've already touched on, was unbelievable. The coverage and attention this district got, and as Dr. Rickley and Hallie stated, the representation we got from our student athletes on the court, but more importantly off the court, to see the pictures of them, socializing with those other teams from across the state. I think it was at Embassy Suites, it looked like it, the Thursday before, and then just the camaraderie on and off the court. It's what the high school experience is all about. And so excited for those young ladies to have that experience in this district, to host something that's on ESPNU. It doesn't happen every year. It won't happen every year. But again, big thanks to Mr. Spilker and his staff and Becky Medic for doing a lot of heavy lifting behind the scenes to get that all organized. And a big thank you to ESPN and Sports Center Next?
I think that's right.
For putting on these events to highlight, the young men and women across the country and all they're doing. So, as Hallie noted, and I know Monarch's band I think they had a first in the prelim on their side. I didn't quite see how they did in the finals this weekend, but again, lots of things going on, not only academically, but through our activities and athletics as well early on in this end of first quarter. With that, any other further board comments or this evening? All right, seeing none, let's conclude item E under section 2 communications. Moving on to item F, committee reports, building, grounds, and finance.
We met and the items that we discussed will be discussed this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Foya. Human resources and student services.
Nothing to report tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Witt. And finally, curriculum and Americanism.
We have not met, but I believe we have a meeting on the schedule for next week.
Thank you, Ms. Fisher. lost my mic. With that, that concludes item F under Section 2 Communications. And that concludes Section 2 Communications. Moving on to Section 3 Action Items. Item A is our action by consent. Before we move for action on that item, I do just want to note that in the board packet, under travel, there was a staff member, Elena Wilson, listed as taking students or chaperoning. That is inaccurate, so I just want to make note for the minutes to reflect that Elena Wilson is not taking students or chaperoning to St. Louis, Missouri on October 21st, 2022.
All right, well, I make a motion to approve the action by consent items with the change you just mentioned.
Second.
All right, I have a motion by Mr. Bailey and a second by Ms. Witt with the noted changes. Roll call, please.
Mr. Lotus.
Yes.
Mr. Bailey.
Yes.
Ms. Witt.
Yes.
Dr. Tafoya.
Yes.
Ms. Fisher.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Moving on to item B under Section 3 action items, the board meeting minutes of September 26, 2022.
I'll make a motion to approve the board meeting minutes of September 26, 2022.
Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Fisher and a second by Dr. Tafoya. Roll call, please.
Mr. Bailey.
Yes.
Ms. Witt.
Yes.
Dr. Tafoya.
Yes.
Ms. Fisher.
Yes.
Mr. Lotus.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. All right, moving on to item C under Section 3 action items, the final property tax request resolution. Mr. Richards.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis and members of the board. Tonight we kind of conclude our culmination of the 2022-23 budget process with the recommendation for the property tax levy resolution for 22-23. And, after 3 hearings and several board meetings, I think we had a pretty good chance to review that budget. I want to thank the Buildings, Grounds, and Finance Committee for all their work as well with their reviews over the last few months. This is a highlight with a 2-cent levy reduction overall, despite the drop in state aid of almost $2.5 million. And with that, I will entertain any questions you might have before we do the final resolution for 22-23. Thank you.
I just want to thank Mr. Richards for his outstanding work, not only preparing the budget, but also making the tax levy fit in increasingly difficult economic times. This does represent at least the 5th year that the district's marginal tax rate has either stayed the same or gone down. That's no small matter. We understand that there's frustration from some community members. We heard at the Sarpy County tax hearing about escalating property valuations. That's a real concern. We understand that. Just as a gentle reminder to our community that we do not assess valuations on either commercial property or housing prices. We just do our best to make it all work within the budget parameters. So again, thank you, Mr. Richards, for your hard work on this.
Thank you.
All right, well, I'll make a motion to approve the attached tax request resolution for 2022-23 school year as presented.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Bailey and a second by Ms. Fisher. Any further board comments, discussion regarding the tax request resolution for 2022-2023 school year? All right, seeing none and seeing no public comment regarding this agenda item, roll call, please.
Ms. Witt.
Yes.
Dr. Tafoya.
Yes.
Ms. Fisher.
Yes.
Mr. Lotus.
Yes.
Mr. Bailey.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. All right, moving on to our final item under Section 3 action items, item D, our superintendent's performance goals for 2022-2023. Dr. Rickley.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lotus, members of the board. We went through the 6 proposed goals and the process and timeline last time just as a high-level review. This Board of Education traditionally has done more than state law requires in terms of my evaluation. I'm statutorily required to be evaluated once a year. This board has traditionally done twice a year at the midway point in the year and at the end of the school year, in addition to all the informal conversations, subcommittee meetings, so forth and so on. The 6 goals that I've laid out in front of the board, and there is detail beneath each one of the 6, which you can see with the board packet, but just so the community who may be watching at home is aware, Goal 1, execute the district strategic plan. 2, implement the engagement plan for the district facility needs, which we discussed briefly earlier in my superintendent's report. 3, implement district-wide climate, culture, and visibility initiatives. 4, update district safety and security protocols. 5, expand district staff recruitment and retention strategies. And 6, which is really a standby goal. Hopefully, we will not need to activate any of those specific indicators, but implement pandemic recovery plans. In the unlikely event that something would happen with the pandemic, we want to make sure we have a plan B. But again, with any luck at all, that will be a non-issue for the upcoming school year. And with that, Mr. Lotus, I'd gladly answer any questions the board has about either the timeline or the proposed goals.
I think the goals that are listed here are really solid, great goals for the district as a whole. We're continuing to work on the district strategic plan on an ongoing basis, and those reports come through here so that the public knows what we're doing there. And then obviously with upcoming bond presentations for potential bond in the future, the facility needs continue as a part of that. But what I really like is that we're continuing to keep that climate, culture, and visibility initiative going in new implementation of different ways that we can do that. And we've certainly said over and over about how important safety and security is in our buildings. As you hear things across the nation, we want to make sure our buildings are as safe as we can make them. And I'm a believer that that's one of the safest places for our kids to be throughout the day is in our school district, so buildings. So, recruitment and retention, it's a pleasure for us as a district to not find ourselves in some of the straits that other districts across this nation are finding themselves in right now in getting staff. But that doesn't mean we don't need to do our due diligence to make sure that we continue to be at the forefront of that. So these goals are all, to me, are very solid, worthy goals for this district moving forward and for you in particular as the leader of this district.
I also want to thank you for the work you did on the goals, and I know you don't do it alone. Your cabinet and your staff are involved in making sure that these occur, and you're the one who makes sure that they do their job as well. So thank you for that.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the superintendent's 2022-23 performance goals as they have been presented.
Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Fisher and a second by Dr. Tafoya. Any other further board comments or discussion? I just had one thing is that what I was really looking forward to in terms of these goals was, bless you, was alignment with what our feedback was from our parent survey as well as our staff survey. I know at my formal place of employment, we take a lot of data and make our then action items and strategic plan for the upcoming year to make sure that we are addressing items that have maybe slipped over a year. And we definitely saw some items that were of concern, and I'm glad that, within, the overall goal and then, action items under each goal, we're definitely addressing the things that we saw out of both the parent and the staff survey. So much, as Ms. Witt said, much appreciated to you, Dr. Rickley, and all of your staff and administrators across the district for providing input to make sure that these goals are, they're SMART goals. Can we measure them? Are they achievable? Are they right on target? For us as a board, as you mentioned, to provide you mid-year evaluation as well as a formal, another formal one at the end of the school year. And with that, and seeing no public comment regarding this agenda item, roll call, please.
Yes.
Ms. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Lotus?
Yes.
Mr. Bailey?
Yes.
Ms. Witt?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. That concludes Section 3 action items. Moving on to Section 4, our discussion and information items for this evening. Item A is our community engagement plan. Mr. Richards and Ms. Hyman.
Well, thank you. I think in the next couple months you might get tired of hearing about this, but we're going to talk about the engagement plan for the bond issue. And I know that you know this, but really the purpose of doing this process is to engage our community and our staff in developing the best possible proposal that we can. If we need a bond issue, and if so, what projects need to be included in that. These are the different audiences that in our strategy for how we're communicating these efforts that we target. We're trying to make sure that we hit all of our audiences that serve our district, not just our registered voters, but along with our registered voters as well. There's three main objectives in the overall engagement plan. Collect feedback from each of those different targeted audiences by using different communication strategies, and I'm going to talk specifically about those tonight. Create that awareness. I mean, the bond issue communication doesn't start with the day the board votes, it starts now. So it's creating that awareness that the potential bond issue is out there. But I think probably the most important one is really fine-tuning what projects, if we do move forward with the bond issue, what projects need to be included in that. What does our community and all those various audiences support in this proposal? There's three main questions that we're asking in a huge variety of different ways, and I'm going to talk about those different ways here in a second. But really, we're looking at what are the strengths, what are individuals' areas of concern, and then what are the unanswered questions that we need to address. Those are the three focus areas that we're focusing on in all the different strategies that we're using. What are some of the engagement activities that we have planned? So we have the two community forums, which Dr. Rickley had talked about. Those are really big community-wide processes that we'll use. Those are for about an hour and a half each night. People don't need to come to both. It's either or. We try to communicate that in the messaging that we've put out. They're certainly welcome to come to both if they want to, but it'll be the repeat. The two nights will look very similar. The focus of those community forums will start in the auditorium with a large group presentation, and then we'll break all the attendees down into small groups, probably about 10 different rooms is what we're planning right now, and they'll go through those facilitated questions of what are the strengths, what are the concerns, and what are the unanswered questions. Then we'll pull the whole group back together in the auditorium, and we'll go through what some of the unanswered questions were, and we'll have a report out from each of the individual rooms. And then following that event for both nights, we will also, for everyone that has signed up that registered that they were there, and they'll do that night. They'll get a postcard where they can leave their name, address, email, etc. We'll send out a comprehensive report with all the raw data from each of the rooms, as well as the common themes that we saw. So everyone that took the hour and a half out of their evening to give us feedback will see exactly what feedback was obtained from the overall event. And all of the unanswered questions we'll answer in a paper format so that everyone can see the questions that everyone had and the answers to those questions. Another big event that we have planned is the Superintendent's Coffee. That's an invited group. That will primarily target our retired community. We'll invite them specifically to attend and have coffee with Dr. Rickley. Same type of format, but we'll go through the presentation and then we'll have them fill out those feedback forms. We have a Facebook Live event. As you know, Facebook Live has been a really successful communication tool in our district. So we've got that planned for November 7th. We'll take on Facebook, we'll televise the presentation through Facebook Live, and then we'll take questions via Facebook Live, and we'll ask those live on camera to Mr. Richards and Dr. Rickley as well. We've already started our staff presentations. We are hitting every single staff group that we have, so all certified staff. Some of our like academy programs came to the high schools today to get those, so we're trying to make sure that every single staff member in our school district has the opportunity to see the presentation and give us feedback. Last Friday, we met with all the custodians in the entire school district and our buildings and grounds crews. That was a great group. They have a much different perspective than maybe our classroom teachers do. Got great feedback from that group. So every custodian and buildings and grounds member in the district has seen the presentation and had an opportunity to voice and provide their feedback. And then today we met with our food service and para group. Dr. Rickley and Mr. Richards did that presentation at the end of the para conference today, which was another great group that we got a really good feedback from. Again, totally different perspective maybe from your classroom teachers. We're doing neighborhood presentations, so we're doing presentations, and those are kind of targeted as small 30-minute presentations, so they'll just be the really quick presentations with the opportunity for community members to give us those feedback forms as well. Those are scheduled in every elementary school, so we'll hit every neighborhood based on the elementary schools. We're not doing them at the middle school and high school just because of the overlap. But so every neighborhood in our community will have an opportunity to go to a presentation very close to their home and provide the feedback for those presentations. We're doing our booster clubs at our 2 high schools. Mr. Richards did one last night. We've got another one later this week. We're also looking at opportunities to collect feedback for people that maybe don't want to come to a face-to-face meeting, don't want to get out. How else can we collect their feedback? So we have feedback forms that can be submitted. We've got the PowerPoint presentation on the web page. We're also in the process of getting a video version of the presentation up on the web page. And then a form that people can just watch the video in the comfort of their home, and then submit a form online and give us feedback that way. And then social media is another big way that we're getting feedback. We have reactivated, it's been active, but it just hasn't been used a lot, the Let's Talk PLCS Bond Facebook group. Since we pushed out the direct mail piece, asking people to join that, we've seen a definite increase in the numbers and the engagement on that Facebook page. We'll continue to post regular things on that Facebook group to keep people informed about where we are in the process and what are the upcoming presentations that we have. And then we'll also be tracking those comments. With the last bond issue, we looked at all the comments that were submitted, positive, negative, what types of feedback were we getting via that social media. Again, we're trying really hard to make sure that if you live in this school district and you want to provide feedback on this proposal, you have an opportunity to do that. You can do it online, you can do it through social media, you can do it through sending an email. We've put that out. There's just every opportunity, and then lots of face-to-face opportunities to see the proposal and go through it. How are we communicating all those engagement activities? So we have a structured communication plan behind each one of those various activities. We did do our postcard that got mailed to every single home to reach out to make sure that we're not just, it's very easy for us to communicate to parents, but it's more challenging to communicate to those families or residents that don't currently have children in our schools. So that's why we did the direct mail piece, inviting everyone to the forums, inviting them, and also listing the other opportunities, the website that they can go to. We do have a whole section of the website now built out pertaining just to this proposal. The district invite to all parents, so as we have those neighborhood presentations, we're doing another email invite to all parents. They'll get an electronic invite that kind of outlines the proposal and then specifically invites them to attend their neighborhood presentation. We also follow that up with text messages that go out a week advance and then the day before the event to, again, try to make sure that those people are aware of those neighborhood presentations. We sent, and this was a last minute thing, so we missed some of the parent-teacher conferences, but we sent flyers home with parents that showed up at parent-teacher conferences and to help make them aware of all these different opportunities that they could participate in to engage in the process. And then we have a whole social media campaign on posts, upcoming meetings, events. We have actual events for each of the neighborhood programs. The school secretaries have scheduled an event on their school Facebook page. Just any way we can get the word out, not just to our parents, but to the broader community about what's happening. For the forums and the superintendent coffees, it's also an invite to everybody, but we're also doing very specific invites. So we have a list of about 200 key communicators that we've used for various things. They'll all get a personal invite to the forums. And then we also have the group of retired administrators and retired community members that have been involved in our district for a long time, and they'll get that personal invite to Dr. Rickley's coffee as well. So we're trying to do a combination of a mass invite to everyone as well as very strategic, also personalized invites as well to just make sure that we're getting representation. And then, of course, we'll be using the news media to help promote all of these different events. So one of the things, now that we're in this process, I put together an updated timeline of where are we, and that seems to be a common question. We got that several times today. When will the board vote? What is the timeline? This is still very fluid. Nothing is set in stone, but to kind of give you an idea of what the thinking is as far as the collection of data and when we can get that back to you so you can make the best informed decisions. The week of October 24th, we'll release the RFP for the formal survey and send that out. That doesn't commit us to anything, but at least we'll start to collect those proposals for if we do the formal survey, what companies do we want to use. I would highly recommend in this district, we've always used an outside company to do that. We could do it ourselves, but I just think it gives credibility to use an outside company to come in and actually do that survey. So we'll use an outside company. We'll send that out on October 24th. At the October 24th board meeting, we'll really start going through the data with you as a board. We'll start presenting the themes and stuff. I'm going to give you some very preliminary stuff tonight. But we'll have more structured themes from all the different opportunities and where we are with the data that we're seeing. So it's not all dumped on your plates at one time, but you'll slowly get that trickled out to you. The November 14th board meeting, we'll do the same thing. We'll continue to look at that data that we're getting back through the engagement process. And we'll also finalize, I left a Y off a survey. We'll also finalize the plan for the formal survey. We'll have those RFPs back, and we'll go through and decide if we want to use an outside company and what exactly we want them to do. If we proceed with the formal survey, my thought is that survey will be conducted through November 28th, from the 28th through the 9th, so about a 2-week window of when our community residents will start getting those phone calls to complete that survey as well. That will be a phone survey. That's the way we're putting out the RFP. Then at the December 12th meeting and the January 9th meeting, the goal is to present the final data to all of you. So by that time, you'll have the survey data, the formal survey data, all of the straggling engagement data that we're collecting back, more of the qualitative data. So you have those 2 different major data sources to use. And we'll also share all of that data with the community publicly. January 23rd or February 13th, depending upon how things shake out between now and then, is when the board will need to take action on if you do want to proceed with a bond issue and you want that in the spring. I think February 13th, January 23rd if we do an April election. It'll have to be done by January 23rd. If we do a May election, you could wait till the February 13th date to do that. And then following that board action that's taken, we'll begin our informational campaign for the bond issue. At that point, once the board votes, the school district can't use any resources or time to say vote yes. That'll have to be done by a separate committee. But the district certainly can communicate the logistics and the information about what is and isn't included in the bond proposal. Very, 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 very preliminary results. I just want to share a few things. And these are, we'll go through all of the feedback forms. We had eight presentations today, 5 presentations today. I can't remember. It was a whirlwind today. But we've done 14 presentations in the last 2 weeks. A lot of those were today. Just from thumbing through, I would say, here's some of the very preliminary feedback that we're seeing. People like the 3 focus areas: the safety and security, the growth, and then the updating the older buildings. Safety and security overwhelmingly with our staff, and I would say that was across the board. Our custodian group, our para group, the teacher groups that we've had, of course, is a super high priority. The no tax increase has been mentioned a lot. The YATP building, I think that's maybe a program that hasn't gotten a lot of attention, but a lot of our staff have commented on the fact that how much they appreciate the concept of us doing that facility and putting it on land that we currently own. And then, of course, the updating of the older buildings. A few suggestions and questions. A lot of the suggestions and the feedback we're getting, and we'll share all of this data with you down the road, are very building specific. At this school, we want these things considered. But some general themes: bathrooms seem to be a hot topic, both staff and student bathrooms. That seems to be a big issue for our staff. Questions about the timeline and what are the priorities, and we'll have to have that in place before we do the information campaign. So we'll kind of have a tentative timeline of what we're doing as far as the order of the projects. Right now, it's too early to do that because we don't know for certain what those projects are. But before we get to this stage where we're sharing that information and asking people to vote, we'll have that tentative timeline for those projects. And the other thing that seems to be surfacing as a hot topic for our staff is just, and we've asked staff over and over again, share the safety and security issues. That fencing around playgrounds seems to be a really common theme at the elementary level that we're seeing. We do ask on those feedback forms for staff to give us a rating, and we'll do the same thing with our community feedback forms as well. Rate from 1 to 5, with 5 being very supportive, 1 being not supportive at all. Through the 14 presentations that we've done, and I wish I had a number, I should have had the total number of forms that were submitted, but the overall rating was a 4.32, which is actually very good. Those ratings by group ranged from a 3.7. We had one group that it was a 3.7 to one group that was a 4.8, but a 4.32 overall rating is where we're sitting. Questions?
Is that rating of the overall presentation?
Yeah, the overall, the projects, what's their level of support on the proposal?
Okay.
Yep, is the way the question is worded. If you have any ideas of groups that we can talk to, other messages, other ways that we can communicate, we would love that feedback and those suggestions. If you've got key groups that you know that we need to get invited to certain things, love that feedback. So any suggestions that you have, we are open to that. We're constantly looking at what are new ways and different ways that we can get this messages out. The goal here through these next 2 months is to make sure that absolutely everybody in our school district has an opportunity to share their voice. because that's what's going to make this proposal the best possible proposal, and it's also in the end is what's going to make it successful, is that if we hear from a huge cross-section of our community and everyone feels like they have that opportunity. So any suggestions that you have on that, we're certainly open. Yes, absolutely. It's going to be a very busy couple of weeks. So, and the schedules are posted on the website. If you guys want invites to any of those neighborhood presentations, so you've got them on your calendar if you want to attend, we can certainly send that out to you as well. I know you've got the big ones on, but those neighborhood presentations, I think we start them tomorrow night. We have 2. I think we have 4 this week of the neighborhood presentations.
No, thank you very much, Ms. Iman, and your team, Mr. Richards, and your team, and really everyone involved in gathering this information. Again, to the public, to our staff, again, appreciate your participation in the building level discussions. I know I've received some individual feedback from those presentations. So again, whether staff or our general public, as you attend these sessions and you have opinions that you obviously want to share through the feedback forms, but if you want to share them with the board itself, again, our emails and information is on the district website. We'll definitely appreciate and take that feedback as it comes in, and we'll be prepared to share that, obviously, with Ms. Iman and her team, just to make sure all the data gathered, so we can evaluate it.
We are using identical slides at all of the sites, and if the community or staff or anyone else wants to review those slides, it's approximately 15 to 20 slides in the slide deck. I believe that is linked from the front page of the district website, is it not, Ms. Iman? So we would please invite you to take a look at that, and if you've even seen it multiple times and want to share it with a friend, a family member, a colleague, please do so. We want to get the word out. Great job, Ms. Iman.
Any other board comments, questions related to that topic? All right, seeing no public comment regarding item A, community engagement plan, we will move on to our final item under section 4, discussion information items, the technology firewall. Mr. Bingham, welcome.
Good evening. Thank you. I know this is the item everyone's on the edge of their seats for, so we'll go over this and answer any questions that you might have before departing for the evening. So in front of you in the packet, we have a request for proposals that we've published for the district's firewall. This is not the firewall like you have to have so many inch-thick walls and insulation. This is the technology firewall that helps keep us in good check for cybersecurity measures and keeps the bad guys out. Our current unit was acquired in 2016 and installed that summer, so we're a little over the 6-year mark of operating the current unit that we have. And 5 to 6 years is about the useful life you want to get out of something that's so critical and important to have running our network. We've got a tight window that we're asking our vendors to reply to. It's a pretty straightforward RFP. We have very explicit requirements that we're asking for based off of a couple of models that we're interested in. Certainly anybody who has a model that could meet those needs is welcome to bid on this and reply. So our goal is to work through the process. We have a vendor pre-bid meeting this week, and they're due next Wednesday. Take those, evaluate them, and come back to the board next month. The next meeting, the following Monday, for seeking approval for a purchase. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have going forward.
No questions, but thank you for bringing this to our attention in a pretty expedited manner. It is extremely important for those folks that aren't, that don't live the technology day to day, but even at the corporate level, I know most of us around the table, it's one of the number one security issues that rises, and even the questions and questionnaires from insurance companies over cybersecurity has increased dramatically. In my involvement, it is pages upon pages, and if you don't check a lot of the boxes, they're just going to tell you, sorry, we're not going to insure in case you do have a hack or some other compromise to your system. So definitely a very important measure that we definitely have the most updated technology, as well as, continued best practices and training with our staff to make sure that we are avoiding those phishing emails. I had 3 alone just today that I had to report to our IT department. Sometimes simple to detect, but sometimes it's amazing how creative some of these folks have gotten, and they can really mimic your system. So a very critical issue, in my opinion, for a district this size. So thank you for bringing this up right away.
Thank you. And I do want to add on, this was in our long-range planning process, this was something we had on there, so it's certainly something we've been looking forward to undertaking this year. So
I know 4 or 5 years ago, we had a infiltration in the district. Will this be a barrier for that? Is that true?
yeah, and the firewall we have now was in place at that point in time, but certainly every, security's in layers, so you have to, there's not one bulletproof way to make sure that, very similar to physical security, as we've been talking about, and you just heard some pieces of information about the more that you can have that's reasonable, that works without impeding people from doing their jobs, the better prepared and responsive we can be to keep folks out that shouldn't be.
I agree with Mr. Lotus that that's very important for education. Thank you.
Thanks.
On a somewhat related note, I'd also like to thank Mr. Bingham for some recommendations he brought before Cabinet just late last week regarding the safety and security conversation we've had regarding our facilities. There's lots of things that I suspect our staff are going to recommend, and there's going to be lots of things that we'll want to discuss as a board and a community. Some of them are facility related. Some of them will tie back to our technology team. Lucas did outstanding work bringing together that proposal, and just wanted to thank him for those efforts.
Certainly a team effort on behalf of my team as well.
Any other board comments, questions regarding the firewall discussion? Seeing none and seeing no public comment regarding item B, technology firewall. Thank you. Mr. Bingham, thank you very much. All right, that concludes Section 4, discussion and information items for this evening. Moving on to Section 5, our future board calendar. October 13th, 2022. Ms. Branco had to remind me that that is Thursday. I still can't get my times and dates right yet coming back. Again, the PDK Fall Leadership Dinner presented by UNO at the Zoo Aquarium. It's always a great event. Obviously, we haven't had it in a couple of years. Thank you to the board members and administration that will be attending that on Thursday. October 20th, 2022, our first community forum at Papillion Lavista South High School, as Ms. Iman just presented, from 6 to 7:30 p.m. And finally, October 24th, 2022, the next Board of Education meeting here at 6 p.m. at the central office. Seeing no further business before the Board of Education, I'll adjourn the Papillion Lavista Community Schools Board of Education meeting for October 10th, 2022 at 7:07 p.m. Thank you all.